Hey, welcome to Real Talk, episode 58. I'm Todd, this is AJ.
Yo!
And you know it, we're back and ready to go.
Ready to go for you guys in Jesus.
Amen. Said that like a robot. It was weird. Hey, so just in case, I'll make it fast because I know some of you that watch a lot get really upset when I repeat myself. What's Real Talk? Real Talk's an opportunity to talk about life, God, the Bible, and everything in between. We want to have real talk about real issues and how we kind of fit all that together.
That's right.
So, well, Todd, how do you know what to talk about? Thank you. I'm glad you asked. Up above, you'll see a link, www.theremnant.life/real-talk. Click the link. It's going to give you a form fillable box. Shoot in a question or a topic. It goes into our database completely anonymously, and you can join the over 1,100 questions, topics, comments. Join the movement. So, that link is open 24/7, 365, and that's kind of where we get it from.
Boom, there it is.
We really just wanted to have an opportunity for people to, or a forum for people to get some of those questions answered, or at least open a dialogue. We don't promise to have all the right answers, but we do promise to take it seriously most of the time. And if anything else, point you to God and the place where you can get that truth.
Nice. That was good.
Thanks, man. I've been trying.
I was in.
They didn't know about the time before when I messed up.
That's true.
Now they do. So we like to start 58 episodes in. You know, I haven't said this in a couple episodes, so I think it's time. Yeah. Wow, what a surreal thing.
It really is, episodes.
Man. I wonder if we put a clip together of all the times I said, "Man, this is surreal." That'd be like 500.
Oh, because I know for a while there it was like every single one. I'm like, oh no, what's gonna happen next week?
Is it weird that I still don't? There's still times that I'm like, this could be it. So
I always think back to the first. I can't remember if it was the first live episode we ever did, or if it was the first pre-recorded episode where you said, "I don't know if this is going to be a one-time deal or ongoing thing," and here we are, man. So that is
over a year later.
It's actually insane. So
yeah, pretty cool.
And it's pretty cool that you guys have been a part of it. So thanks for sticking around.
Hey, thank you, because yeah, we didn't think it'd be going this
long. We really
long.
didn't. So
yeah, pretty amazing too. Man, just so excited, thankful for those of you who share this and
yes,
you know, on your pages and like it and comment, because we've had a weird thing happen. Our live, we go live for Real Talk, where we kind of have more fun on Thursdays, and there was a time there. This is surreal, probably to people. There it is again. This is crazy. We were having 1,700, 1,800, 1,900 viewers a week on that,
which is insane.
And our live our pre-recorded episodes, which frankly you and I probably like better. I do. We go a little deeper. And those in the podcast world that are hearing this, you wouldn't know about the live, but
right.
we enjoy these, and those would always be pretty good, right? As far as numbers, but recently. It's like the live has gone down. It's still crazy. Still having 800, whatever. That's awesome. But we've had the pre-recorded up into the 300s.
That's right.
So what excites me about that is I think more than anything, that's sort of what the dream was for Real Talk.
Absolutely.
Was to talk a little more seriously about some of those things.
They're digging in.
Yeah. So thank you guys so much, those that have partnered with us in sharing, liking, and commenting, because I promise you're making an impact. We get testimonies or testimonials at times about the impact this has made on people's lives.
Oh, man.
And what a blessing. And someone asked me that the other week, you know, Todd, what's it like having these things online? And I said, you know, it just feels like it's a team. It's just us. It's a movement. So we're really excited. So thank you. That being said, we like to start off every episode by kind of catching you guys up on our lives and our weeks, and hopefully get you thinking about yours. So, man, how was your week?
So, very interesting. I've had a couple things kind of go through my head. So I've been reading. So I read all of Genesis. I don't know if I said this last week. So I read all of Genesis and finished it. So all throughout Genesis, you know, it was for me, with it being my first time going through it entirely. I was very struck by how much they reference like lines of people.
like genealogy stuff.
Yeah. And I was like, wow, this is bizarre, and it was just interesting. So that was the first thing that was about it. But the story of Joseph was the thing that stuck out to me the most in Genesis, was Joseph's faithfulness through all the trials that he had to go through. You know, the guy was a royal servant, and you know, his master's wife wanted to sleep with him, and he said no. He did the right thing, and still, she decided to throw him under the bus and get him in trouble anyway, which then sent him to jail. He goes to jail. Some royal people get sent to jail too, and then he tells them some. What's the word? Interprets. There it is. He interprets the dreams, and they end up becoming true. And he tells the one that has a good interpretation that, hey, let the king, let Pharaoh know, like, that, I told this, and then the guy forgot. So then he had to stay there longer. And then eventually the guy remembered, brings him there, tells Pharaoh everything. Pharaoh goes, okay, you're going to run Egypt, essentially. and then, it just, and even then he has to go through, sees, his family becomes involved. He gets to see his father. His father comes, and it's just like, man. And with that being said, his father sold him into Egypt. So the forgiveness of even bringing his brothers there first, and then bringing his dad, and then even after his dad passes away, he still has the honor to take his dad back to where he originally, where the rest of his family was buried, and buried him there. And it was just, I don't know, man. When I think of life, like what a life of just faithfulness, honestly. Like, and I think of sometimes when I'm reading the Bible, I forget that these are real people.
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah.
And you think of it, it's almost like a character, like no character flaws. These guys are just incredible, superhuman. And I'm like, wait, no, this is real. Like if Joseph could do this, so can I. And that. Yes, and that it's very convicting for me. And so reading through Genesis, that's what struck me the most. And then I decided to hop on over into, what was it? Oh, it was Ephesians. Reading more with Paul, and I love Paul, and just, man, it seemed like every single line just hit me, and so surreal, man. I read through that. I read through Philippians yesterday, just the shorter ones, and man, they're just, every single letter he writes is just so good. And he just, I don't know, man. He's so joyful in his letters. Like, it's funny. Like, even when he's like, I was sad about this, but man, I'm so happy about this. And I don't know, man. Paul, I can relate to Paul so much. And that dude, even though, he started off as a murderer of Christians, and just for him to make the turn that he did, knowing that it was probably going to come with consequences because people weren't going to understand that could be that big of a drastic change in someone's life. Like, and he still went through with it. He didn't get scared. And again, Paul, I'm just another guy. That's what he was. He's just like me. And I don't know, man. I had a realization that, like, these people were real, because you know it, but sometimes you don't know it in your heart. You're reading this, and you're like, man, I don't always believe that, it's like a story sometimes, not reality. And, I just had a realization of it's reality, and if they can do it, so can I. And, man, it's just been really convicting, but, just such a good conviction, like an exciting conviction, like, man, I can do this, so sorry to go on.
Don't apologize.
Forever,
Yeah, that's what this is about.
But, yeah, and so, like, I don't know, man. I just felt so, like, just overwhelmed by it, and, like, I was like, man, what a cool. It's funny because when you have stuff like that happen, it just continues to branch into other, like, crazy realities. Like, so then, I'm reading these, and it's hitting me like this, and I go, man, how crazy that God just, like, decided to put his word for us in this freaking book. Like, it's crazy, and, like, I don't know, man, I'm just so thankful. And even though, like, I'm so thankful because I'm so unfaithful. And, such a sinner, and he still loves me anyway. He gives me all the answers I need. And it's so easy to forget, and I hate that, but I love it because I know that in my weakness, he's perfect, and I'm covered, and there's peace in that when you actually decide to live in that. And I don't know, man, just so incredible. So, I don't know, man, I'm just so thankful. Other than that, setting aside reading in the Bible, I just very intrigued by the world right now. I don't know where we're going. I know that with everything happening right now with the virus, like, it's getting into that point where it's kind of almost like a norm.
Yes, that's so.
But yes, like it's almost, it's just like another day. It's another part of life. You know, it's lasted long enough where I think naturally, as a human, I'm starting to adapt to what it is.
Yeah, man.
And it's very interesting because with that, two parts come for me. One is worry because I'm like, this is not normal. Why is it feeling normal?
It shouldn't be normal.
Exactly. And the other part is it's kind of cool because it makes me go like, well, you know, if something like this can happen, that means I can probably adapt to anything, whether it's for good or for bad. Hopefully good, but you know, we can always find good in anything. You know, I think that's God given. So, yeah, I don't know, man, just weird. You know, I haven't been out like shopping in a little while, but I know like I've been hearing about all these like different restrictions that are coming through with like, you know, Walmart and all these other big places of limiting people. And like, what a weird part, like what life is
happening
weird right now.
Yeah.
Yes, but it feels so normal at the same time. So, yeah, man, I guess that's where I'm at. You know, I don't really have a concrete end to the other part of life, but yeah, man, that's kind of where I'm at. So that was a lot, but
No, that's good, man. I think that's good for people to hear. I definitely resonate with it being normal. I've had that exact thought the last 2 days. I was like, when did this become normal?
yep,
In fact, I was just having a conversation right before this where I kind of brought that up of like, this is normal now, even though it's the farthest thing from normal in the world.
yes, super weird, man.
Yeah, and I also understand your part, you know, looking at Paul and how he did it, you know, lived his life. He's like us, and you know, the thing about Paul that I always find interesting, I don't know if this is what's true to you, that separates me from him. We've talked about this. Paul spends a lot of time in his books saying, "I'm not lying. I am an apostle. I did see this." And when I think of that as a real person, that's because people must have been telling him all the time, "You're making this up. You're lying. You don't." And he had to and we can all, I don't know, resonate or sympathize with that kind of feeling because we've been there. And the thing that makes Paul so cool is that even though he probably had those insecurities, you know, you've heard that saying that even if you're innocent, if you spend enough time in a interrogation room, they can make you believe you're guilty. Right? You've heard of that before?
I have.
They've done experiments or whatnot. And you think about Paul, and so in the midst of that all the time, he does not move from the fact, in the midst of his insecurities, that he is who Jesus said he is.
Man.
And I think that's what makes that guy, and that's what I would, when I think of him specifically.
right.
Same with Christ.
Yes.
You know, Jesus, they said, "Who are you? You are this, you are that." And he had this, he goes, "I know who my Father is," you know, those kinds of things. And man, that's the goal, right? Is to know who you are and be unshakable in the midst of all that. So I get it, man. And I love Paul too, you know that.
Yeah.
Because he's real.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for me, it's Jesus and Paul, and you know, David's up there too. But so that's neat to hear, and I get it. It's a weird time.
You know, and I guess, yeah, man, I don't know. It's super. I think of him, and like you said, I just love that. Like you said, like that's the goal because you know that like that was his reliance was Jesus. That's what it was. Because if it wasn't, he would have not been as bold as he was. He wouldn't have. He probably would have. You know.
Excuse me. I'm sorry, guys.
He probably would have been in a different place, and it's just so cool, man. Like, and I love that that's in the Bible because you know the Bible that's the truth, and like God's going, listen, hey, look at this, like you can do this.
And that's the thing is, I just had a talk. You know, people talk about Jesus. Well, he knew who he was, and Paul. Well, he saw Jesus. There's always an excuse. You know, why can't what hinders us from living out of that sort of confidence in who we are? Why could Paul do it, and it feels like we can't so many times? You know, I don't know. I think it's because Paul did what Jesus told him to do.
That's right.
I pray, and I talk to God, and I do the things he tells me to do. And,
yes.
you know, the more you spend time with your Father, the more you're going to know he's your Father.
What's interesting about a guy like Paul, you know,
So sorry,
and
guys.
I'd have to read more, you know, into it, but, you know, you might have a better answer, but, you know, I feel like a guy like Paul, he didn't really make excuses like we do now. Like he didn't try to justify his actions with saying but this and but that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, he said, "I'm the worst of these, the sinner," you know, and yeah.
Like you said, like people are often going like you know, he saw Jesus, all these things. Like I feel like Paul and guys like Paul who are in the Bible, who are, you know, considered faithful followers of Christ, they didn't make those excuses. They just believed it and lived it, man.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I was so convicted, even by a guy like Joseph in Genesis, because I was like, man, that guy, like, he was just, wow, just went for it, man. He that's how he lived life. Life was about God, and there's so many of us that don't live that way, including myself in so many aspects. So, I don't know, man, just super convicting, and it was just really good stuff. But
That's awesome, man.
yes,
You get in the Word, and you read two sections, and all of that came out of that.
yeah, and it's so incredible, and it's again convicting again because like, man, I just need to keep up on it. So,
Yeah, I'm with you
anyways,
there.
yeah, so that was how I was. But how was your week, man?
So, bigger picture, one of the things that this came to me as you were talking about this becoming normal is I had this sense of God is so big, right? God didn't make the virus, I don't believe, for me, right? Of course, hear me out. People have said, well, he's getting us to stay home and love our families, and that's all true, right? But at the same time, it's crazy. I had this sense of like, he is using it to mold me, right? Me, Todd, individually. And one of the things that I've found is I'm having to face stuff, man. Like, I've shared this in previous episodes. I don't like the term workaholic because on the surface, I don't seem that way, right? Everybody would be like, but I keep moving.
That's right.
And even though I've found ways to stay busy, it's also made me slow down to the point of going and not being around people as much to where I'm in my own thoughts, because I think I shared this a couple weeks ago. I run from my thoughts sometimes. I think that I do. I think that I run from my feelings. I don't run from my thoughts. I'm constantly thinking. But I run from that sometimes because there's a lot of negativity in here towards myself, and I don't, I think sometimes that's why I don't sleep because I don't want to lay there in my thoughts. I want to keep going until I pass out, All that being said, I've had this weird sense. This is going to sound I don't mean to sound hyper mystical or spiritual, but where God is sort of, I think of Jesus, God is sort of calling me to him. And what I mean by that is, there's several verses, but the verse in the Bible where it said, after he was done, Jesus went out to be alone and pray. Right? He went to the hill by himself to pray.
That's right.
And sometimes I get this sense of God saying, hey, you need to come. And it's funny because I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll be there. And it's not a bad thing. It's not a scary thing. It's actually really comforting. And I'm like, yeah, I'll be there, Lord. And I just kind of keep doing stuff because I think part of me doesn't want to sometimes because, not because I'm afraid of him even, but because I don't want to deal with what he wants me to deal with.
Yeah.
But it's not a bad thing. And man, I don't know. I'm in this, it's funny that you brought up the Paul thing. That's why I was like, oh, that's so true. Because one of the areas that I am thinking through is being, I don't know, man. I want to be better. And I look back at parts of my life that were so unstable by the world standards. I had nothing.
Yeah.
And I don't even want to say this because I'm scared because I don't want to go back there, but why am I longing for who that guy was?
Better. Yeah, it somehow was better than.
Because in the midst of losing everything, I found everything.
You did. You found full reliance.
Yeah, and so I want to get back there, and in these moments, I want to be that guy, and I actually apologized to you and a few guys the other day of like, I'm making people walk on eggshells because I am, I don't know, harsh, or I'm thinking, I don't know, I feel pressure, not necessarily anxiety, but pressure, and my tendency is either to pull into myself sometimes when I feel pressured, or to become the warlord or something. It's like, I'm going to get this taken care of. I don't care who I burn in the process.
Right.
So it probably seem like I'm all over the place. It's actually a good thing. I'm having these moments where God is whispering to me, and I'm so thankful for his mercy with me and his gentleness at times, because sometimes he's not, but a lot of times he is. And it's this whisper of like, hey, hear me, see me in this. Yes, this scares you. Don't give in to these, I don't want to be a guy that reacts. I say that all the time. I want to be an actor. I want to be consistent. I want to be Todd, even when my emotions are screaming for me to be somebody else.
So
for me to be self-protective, for me to be pull away, for me not to love radically, you know, and I get caught up in these moments of, I don't know, where I'm so focused on fixing myself and problems and situations that maybe I sometimes come across like I'm wanting to fix people, and in the midst of trying to fix people, I'm not loving people, and that makes me sad because my job isn't to fix them. My job is to love them, you know? I can't fix people, and how arrogant is it to even think that sometimes?
That's really
But
good.
it's a good thing. Like I said, I'm very thankful for that, and I'm just a random other kind of cool blessing. Right before we filmed, we were literally sitting on a film. Somebody walked in. I went downstairs. Shout out to Zach if he's watching. And it was kind of one of those things of like, oh, I only have a couple minutes. But man, what a cool I mean, we didn't. It started off just catching up about life and real fast. You know, one of those kind of like, I'm going to talk for a second. And I don't know if I was probably gone 20 minutes. And it was just so life giving, man. And to hear him share his heart about God and us to just think about what it is to follow Jesus in times like this. Because we've talked about this over and over, that we have an opportunity in the midst of this to see who we really are. Who am I? Who is Todd really when the lights go out, when the storm is raging, when it's not comfortable? Is he really a follower? Or are you really a follower? Like, we're seeing the cracks, right?
Yes.
And I don't know. I think you and I talk about this personally a lot. I think that I don't know. I think that's a very fascinating time.
Yes, it's
right?
very fascinating.
It is a time for real growth in our faith if we let it be. Am I making sense?
No,
I know this probably
absolutely,
seems
man.
all over.
No.
So it's so cool, man. Real talk that you brought up Paul to me, because I am going to share this with you. Just you spoke into my situation, because sometimes you know, people can make us feel like we aren't who God says we are.
That's right.
And I can fall into that trap too. And I told you that on my own, I feel like God's been saying, hey, be who I called you to be, even when it's scary, when it's hard, when it's tough. And I'm wrestling with it. And then you kind of bring up this guy who did that all the time and who I admire. Mm-hmm. And it's sort of just a reminder of probably another little breadcrumb from God of, hey, be that. You can be that, right? Because Paul was just a guy.
That's right. That's what
And
it was.
we're just guys. And we can do that. We can be better, and we can be, I don't know, man, we can be people who reflect him even in the day-to-day little things. Probably seem like I'm all over.
No, man. But I get it, man. I mean, we're all ordinary until we have God. Then we're extraordinary. That's what we are.
Preach.
And you know, people. That's the only difference. That's why I love. The first time I ever heard, I think you said it one time during a sermon a while back. And you said the only difference between me and someone who doesn't believe in God is Jesus. That's it.
Preach.
There's no difference. Yep. And like, it's so true, because as soon as we finally decide to put that faith in Christ, that's when the extra is added to the ordinary, and we can do extraordinary things, you know, because he's using us.
Yeah, and I think I'm fascinated by that too, because I'm sitting here going, oh, I have to be better and all these things. And I have to, if I believe the Bible, I'm already fully equipped to be who he's called me to be. It's just all this junk that I put in the way.
That's right.
And all this junk and these things that I don't do that he tells me to do. So I love the idea. You know, I say this all the time. It's not about making us, changing everything about us. It's about making us who we really are. That's what the Holy Spirit's doing. I want to live out of who Todd really is. The saved, the Todd that God created. You know, I want to be that guy, not the one who has spent years self-protecting, putting on armor, trying to make sure he doesn't get hurt. I want to be that guy that just, man, that reflects Jesus and loves people like him and knows who he is. Because that's the thing. You can't be like Paul or Joseph or even David if you are going to be, if who you are is at all dependent on what other people say you are and who other people say you are. Because that's just, it just can't. Because other people only go by what they see. So if somebody thinks AJ or Todd is a jerk and they remember this mistake we've made, then that's who we're going to be to them.
Yep.
So, cool, man. Preach. It's good stuff. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you're taking these moments of slowness, for lack of a better word, these slow times, to also give yourself a chance to go with God and figure out, man, Lord, what do you want from me? What are the areas in my life that I've been hiding behind? You know, that society lets me get away with, but now I can't get away from it.
That's right.
Where's my fig leaf, right? The idea of like, where are you hiding? And we're hiding behind this leaf,
Right.
you know? And God's like, hey, it's time to get rid of that. Who told you were naked? You know, like it says in Genesis, who told you were these things? And I don't know. Hey, it's good stuff, man. I do think we got a question, so let's go ahead and pop it up.
We're gonna pop it up.
Yeah, what's God teaching you guys? I would love. We haven't had a lot, man. We get all these views. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts. What's God been trying to show you? What are the areas that you've been growing in? What are some, not even scripture, what are some, I don't know, what's something God's been revealing to you lately? I would love to hear from you guys.
That's so good, man.
Drop it in the comments below. We would love to hear from you.
Yes, please. We love reading comments.
Or if this is in some way, we do love reading comments.
I love going on.
It was just because I looked over here going, we love comments. Did we do this crippling fear one on the live? Or we did not. I don't think we did because it came like 14. All right, so I'll just read it. We got 2 questions. I have this crippling fear of being abandoned due to some things that happened in my childhood. My significant other knows about the things that have happened and about the fear. They have been so good at handling the fear gently and reassuring me they aren't going to leave me where I'm at by myself. They're truly blessing me. I find that little things, quote, hurt the scar, as it were. Leaving the house in the middle of the night, not communicating, or I'm not, in the middle of a fight, I don't know why I said night. Not communicating certain things, and even when I mess up and upset that person, all those things activate that fear in me, the fear of abandonment, I guess. I hate that. That scar is so easily hurt. I don't want to live out of the fear. How do I force myself to pull me out of the place of constantly being afraid that people will leave me?
So, first off, that's a great question. I think that's something a lot of people struggle with, and you're probably speaking for a lot of people when you're asking this question. When I think of abandonment, right, we are putting the value of abandonment on that person who we think is going to abandon us, and we're not rooted in Christ. Because the real question,
That's good, man.
The real question is, what if they do? That's the real question. What if they do leave, or what now? You know, I think that's a question you ask people a lot. You know, whether it's counseling or just whatever it may be. You know, I know from my own personal life, that's what you've asked me a lot. Well, what if it does happen? What if they do this or do that? And at the end of the day, if you can't confidently answer with, God is still good, then I don't know. You gotta reevaluate. I think we get so scared because we do put so much value in people, or their opinion of us matters more than what God thinks of us. And so when that person who thinks so negatively of you finally leaves, you view that as everyone giving up on you, including God, and that's just not the truth. And you just got to remember who you are. Remember that you are valued no matter what happens in this life, that God is above everything else. So just ask yourself that. What if they do? Is God still good? And if you can't say yes, then you got to do some searching.
I really like that. I like that a lot. This is interesting. Holy Spirit's real. It kind of goes with a little bit of what I spoke with Zach about today, about how we have to, sometimes we don't want to focus on the scary things Jesus said. Okay, so Jesus, we've talked about this before, but I'm fascinated, genuinely, by what Jesus sort of makes us face. And I think sometimes we make a safer Jesus. I have this talk all the time. This is my Jesus. My Jesus does this, and it's a safer Jesus. Because this is what I know Jesus has said. You got to crucify your flesh. You're going to have trials and tribulations in this world. The servant is not greater than the master. If they hated me, they'll hate you. He who wants to follow me must crucify his flesh, must carry his cross. If someone puts their hand to the plow and looks back, he's not worthy of following me. All of these things. And it's, you know why we don't like focusing on those? Because they sound mean and scary. But the truth is that it's not. It's freeing, because what God is saying, what Jesus is saying is, this life has so much brokenness and sin, and he's going to fix it someday. But you have got to even the idea and the parable of the building your house on a solid foundation. He's not trying to scare you, but he is trying to say, what if? You have to understand that our faith is not just about life going the way we want it to.
That's good.
In fact, I feel like when I read Jesus, he said life is going to not go well many times. And that's because of the stuff that's happened and the brokenness and sin. But I love you, what you said. I am not going to give up on you. I will never let go of you. And I will always work things out for your good. But I'm going to be the one who determines what that good is. And if we really believed that, it sounds so cynical and so not narcissistic, it sounds so negative, but it isn't. It's actually freeing because God is saying, stop worrying about all that. Keep your eyes on me, trust me, love me, and follow me. So here's the thing about abandonment, and I probably have that to a degree or whatever. I don't like that, and so I've kind of went the opposite way where I just keep a wall up, and I love people, but I don't let people love me always. But the thing is, you literally cannot control anyone. Here's a scary thought. You could marry someone, they could be a Christian, in your eyes, they look the part, they do the part, they act the part, and they end up leaving you. There's no guarantee.
It's true.
There's no guarantee. And that's not to scare any of you out there, but it's to make us think, the only person we can control is us. So I have to do what Jesus said, and I have to love people and focus on that and focus on He is my foundation. That's so deep, right? Because no one can take that away.
That's right.
No one can take that away. So I think that's the focus, is you just have to keep your eyes focused on who does God say that I am. Sometimes I even I ask myself that question. Okay, if this thing that I'm really scared of happens, then what? Is God still good? You've heard me say that a lot of times. Is God still good? Is God still good right now when there's this crazy virus going around killing people?
Yep.
Is he still good? You have to decide that. Do you believe him? And man, when I read questions like that, first and foremost, how brave it is for them to share that.
Oh, yeah.
And to be that transparent and that vulnerable, because you're speaking for a lot of people.
Oh, big time.
But I guess tangible advice, realize God's never going to leave you, like you said. And what I try to do is be outward focused and just focus on not abandoning other people and loving them.
That's good.
And let God take care of you.
I like that a lot. That's good.
All right, man.
Nice.
I'll let you read this one because I feel like I always put you on the spot first.
I just tried to say sure and nothing came out.
11:44. It's the last one.
Okay. All right. So, second question. Did the Pharisees go to hell or heaven?
So for those that might be watching this, they don't know who the Pharisees are. The Pharisees were sort of the religious elite in the Jewish faith during Jesus' time. They were one of the groups. There's different kind of segments or factions within the Jewish faith at the time. And the Pharisees were sort of, I'll put it in just plain terms, they looked the part. They were religious. They did the right things. Right. They looked, outwardly they did all the right things. We know that many of the few times Jesus showed real anger was towards them.
That's right.
He called them whitewashed tombs. He called them dirty cups that on the outside were clean but the inside weren't. He called them vipers, all of these types of things. We know that they were one of the leading factions that had him crucified as far as set it up. So, but here's the thing. We were talking about this briefly. We just happened to look at this one. We don't do prep, but we briefly talked about this. We always have to remember what saves someone from hell and what sends someone from hell. What does it boil down to?
It's their faith in Jesus.
Yeah. Do they believe in Jesus? As an overall, if you're asking me the faction in general, I mean, if they didn't believe in Jesus, they're not with God. Nope. It doesn't matter. That's period. That's right. Now, do I know, we talked about this, if some of them repented later in life, did some of them walk away? Did some of them put their faith in Jesus when he was raised from the dead? Maybe, absolutely. And if so, then they're saved. They could have been the ones hitting him. They could have been the ones stabbing him, like the Romans did that. But they could have been the ones, whatever. If they put their faith in him, they are forgiven. We know that from the thief on the cross. Yep. After he mocked Jesus as he was hanging there, and at some point something changed, and he said, he defended him to the other thief, and he said to, murderer, by the way, not just thieves, and he said to him, please remember me. And Jesus said, don't worry, today you will be with me in paradise. That's the heart of God. So, man, they rejected Christ, and to this day, the, what is the word, traditional Jewish faith rejects Jesus as the Messiah. So that is the only way you can be saved, is through faith in Jesus.
That's right.
That's
exactly
both.
what he said.
Yeah, I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me.
That's right.
So that's what it boils down to. And we talked about this. Sometimes that we overcomplicate that, right? We get these questions a lot, and I love them. Keep asking them. But like, is Hitler going in hell, or is Cain? And I don't know the answer to this. I know that it depends on their heart and their faith.
That's right.
And, well, Hitler. I mean, we don't. I'm just throwing that out there.
Sure.
Or people like to ask. One of the ones they really like to ask to catch you is like, could Hitler be in heaven if he had put his faith in Jesus right before he killed himself, or whatever? Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the part people don't want to face, man.
No,
like,
it's uncomfortable, but it's the truth.
Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life.
Because who defines what's right and wrong? God, not us.
Yeah, man. And we've all sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. And that's what Scripture says.
Amen.
And all who cry out to him will never be put to shame. Scripture says that too. So it's good stuff, man.
Absolutely. Great episode. Great questions, guys.
Yeah, thanks so much. Keep them coming. Those have sort of slowed up a little, even though we have 11:44. So again, hey, we are open to anything.
That's right.
You can ask us questions about ourselves. I'm not saying we're that exciting, but you can, about our journey. You can ask about the Bible. You can ask about, I don't know, specific situation. I think these were two good questions, because one was sort of a personal life question, and one was sort of scriptural in a way. So kind of shows the wide variety of questions we get.
Absolutely. Or you can suggest a topic.
Yeah, topics are good too. You know, we love chopping it up.
Hey, we'll chop it. We'll take
we
it,
will
we'll
chop it up. Yeah. So I think that's about it, man.
Awesome.
If you're listening on a podcast, I'm going to say this again. Hey, bear with us. I forget. We've done this so long. So the ums and the ahs and the annoying little things we do in our conversation, we will continue to work on being better at that.
Yeah.
Even if I have to give intern Clint a sign that says, remember podcast. Because I know that can be annoying. So those of you that have found us on one of our various podcast platforms, man, we are so excited to get to know you guys and interact with you. You can also go to the link at www.theremnant.life/real-talk and interact with us. In fact, if you do that, we'd love to hear you say, hey, I'm from the podcast.
Yeah, tell us where you're coming from. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, tell where you're coming from. That's exciting.
Yeah, we are on pretty much every podcast platform.
Oh, yeah, just about.
You just type in Real Talk web series, it'll pop up. So we've put in a lot of older ones, and we're going to keep updating the new ones. But please bear with us. We are going to do our best to make it not as annoying to hear us talk. We also have some ideas for some other podcast-only content.
Yes.
Including sort of a round table where we might invite the whole production crew and a revolving cast of characters to talk about topics. Absolutely. And invite you guys into that conversation as well.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, that's the goal and the plan. And just know that this is the whole goal of this, guys, if anything, is to inspire you to have these kind of talks in your life and with your friends and your family, because those are life-giving, and life can try to rob you of those opportunities and make you rush from thing to thing so that you can never talk about real things.
That's good.
Right? So I am so blessed by you, man, and having someone that I can always
so much.
Talk with about those things. Yeah. You see how deliberate I'm being? So I don't say all of those annoying little words.
Well, I appreciate it, and I'm not good.
It's hard, hey.
I appreciate you too. You've been such a good, just role model. And you've been, even though you don't think it all the time. You've blessed me in so many ways. And just to be by your side through this whole process of Real Talk, and just becoming, a face of a, for lack of a better term, brand. It's just so cool. And I'm honored, and I would have never thought it'd be me, but here I am. So I appreciate you believing in me enough to have me come on here, and you have to take me up on whatever I say that you're a part of it. So. Nice. So I appreciate you too, man. Thank you.
Yeah, we're excited. Feel free to continue to give us thoughts and ideas and all that kinds of stuff.
Yes, please. We're always open.
Yes, we are. So I think that's it. You got anything else to say to the crowd and the crew here?
Just make sure you guys like and share this. podcast peeps. If you guys, I say all the time. Sorry.
I like podcast peeps. That's nice.
Yes.
Alliteration's cool.
If you're listening on a podcast and there's an ability to review, please give us a review. That'd be great. Appreciate it.
If it's good.
Yeah.
If not, please don't.
Other than that, just thank you guys so much for tuning in. You know, it really does mean the world to me. You know, I get so excited just watching, you know, the analytics and everything, and just seeing you guys be faithful to us, and not even just faithful to us, but just faithful to God, because this is who it's for. You know, this is all about the kingdom and just getting people to know Christ. So thank you guys so much, and I love you.
Yeah, and those of you who wouldn't consider yourself a Christian but still have supported us and enjoy having a format to interact and chop it up
Absolutely.
about faith and life, we love you too, and we are thankful for you. Because, man, that's what we want, right? We want to be able to have those real talks. Yeah, that's about it, guys. Like as I said before, I'll mention it one more time. If you have a topic, thought, some feedback for us you don't want to throw out there attached to your name, you can use the link at www.theremnant.life/real-talk. That link is open and ready for use. Also, if you're going through a tough time right now, we know that people are. These are some crazy times. Whether it's you need someone to talk to, someone to pray for you, someone... man, just to feel like you're not alone in some of this, or maybe there's even financial things. We can't promise we can meet all those, but you can go to our website as well at www.theremnant.life/compassion and drop in that. Fill it out as much as you can. I know sometimes people just fill out the bare minimum. Mm-hmm. I know our committee or our team that looks at those, they want to know that you're willing to put that information in there.
Right.
And man, we'll get a hold of you and try to stand beside you in some way.
Awesome.
I think that's about it, man.
Yes, sir.
Other than that, like he said, thank you so much. Please like, share, comment, all of that good stuff. We hope you guys have a great day, and truly, I mean this. God bless you.